Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review, part 2 of the year in review for NXT 2015. I'll be honest, I actually like the stuff that they highlighted in week 1 a lot better. I thought it was more coherent. Some of the stuff they highlighted, though, in this second week was nice, but then they had other things they highlighted that kind of left me scratching my head a little bit. Overall, though, I'm personally glad to see that it's over because next week we'll return to actual storylines and the continuity within the NXT universe. But I guess this was a nice little pause before we get ready to really rev up the hype train. So, Ashton, what do you think about this episode tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it was the one thing that kind of annoyed me about tonight was the fact that they showed a match that included a heel, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, because they're like the hottest baby faces going right now, and it's just, you would think they would go a little bit further to protect their image, but other than that, it was a fine show. I can't really complain too much. It was a clip show, I mean, what is there to say at this point?
And that's exactly it, Ash. I mean, that sentiment right there, I think, is pretty much how I'm feeling going into this review. It's a clip show. There's not really much room for analysis or this, that, or the other like we do on a regular basis with NXT. And we even said, guys, last week, if you remember that episode, this episode's going to be more devoted. I mean, we'll do a quick recap, overview, and then we're really just going to be looking towards 2016 and the NXT landscape. So that's really the aspect that I'm really looking forward to. But with that said, I really don't even see a point in going into our formal first segment, heat of the night, because what is there to have the heat of the night about?
Right. No, I wouldn't worry too much about that. But let's just get right into the recap. I'm not going to go over everything pretty much the same way I did last week, just kind of gloss over what they talked about. We got the Owens-Balor finish from Beast in the East, where Balor won the championship. We got an Elias Sampson vignette. We got a recap of Ty Dillinger versus Apollo Crews, and it was a match that they had in the same stadium that WrestleMania 32 is happening in. So obviously it was nowhere near full, but it was still great to see them in that kind of venue. We got an awesome video package that highlighted the women of NXT, and it was Bayley, it was Carmella, Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, Emma, Dana Brooke, and finally Asuka. I was still waiting for them to talk about Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, but they will have their time in the sun, time to shine this year, I'm sure of it. Then we got a Dusty Rhodes video package, very emotional, very, just sad to even realize that he's not with us anymore. It's awful to think about. And then we got a Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic recap. And then we got a recap of all of the NXT call-ups that made it to the main roster in 2015. And also, if you count the Ascension, late 2014. We talked about Neville, the Ascension, Tyler Breeze, Becky Lynch, Kevin Owens, Sasha Banks, the Lucha Dragons, and finally Charlotte. And yeah, we'll talk about each of those people eventually. But then we got the recap of the 8-man tag I was referring to earlier, where it was Jordan and Gable teaming up with the Mechanics to take on Enzo and Cass and the Hype Bros. Of course, we know the final finish. The finish of that match involved Gable getting pinned. So again, not a huge fan of them showing that. I would have preferred that they showed the finish to the 4-way 8-man tag from London rather than this one. But then the final kind of the closing moments were a recap of Joe and Balor in London. So really just a bunch of recaps and stuff. The video packages that we I thought were really cool. The one where they highlighted the women and then the one that they highlighted the call-ups. I thought those were really cool. John, what was your opinion on all this stuff?
Of everything that you mentioned, to me, the best highlight was the video package highlighting the women. I love that because I really felt like it was a celebration of a great year for the women. Everything else was all right. Again, there's really nothing critical you can say positively or negatively about a clip show. I thought they chose some good moments. I, too, was perplexed by some choices. I would have loved to have seen them recap, for audiences that may be trying to be getting acclimated to NXT heading into the new year, the 4-way tag tag team matchup where Jordan and Gable were faces and incredibly over in London.
Yeah.
But, I felt like they chose the moments that they felt was best. Again, honestly, if we're comparing the 2 weeks, I thought week 1 was actually much better. But, this wasn't bad.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that being said, John, we told everyone last week. Last week we talked about what happened in 2015. This week we are looking forward. We're looking to the future, and not just 2016, but just the future of NXT in general. Obviously, it'll be a very 2016-centric show, and probably more specifically the first 5 or 6 months or so of 2016. But if you want to kind of fade off and look even further into the future, I won't stop you. I know we'll probably end up talking about Ricochet eventually ending up in NXT, and that can't happen for at least another 2 years. So, John, what specific things do you want to start with, just looking into the future, to kind of kick off our discussion?
Well, for me, the 3 most immediate things, especially within the context of 2016, and that's kind of purview that I want to keep it in. Athena debut, because I'm really excited for her. Hideo Itami return.
Yes.
And for me personally, Jordan and Gable tag team title program.
Okay. I just
Yeah.
thought of something, John. We will talk about all 3 of those things, but there's a massive elephant in the room that we also need to address.
You want to have it out right now? Let's have it out right now. You start.
AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Carl Anderson, and Doc Gallows. Now, if I had to guess, just based on certain Reddit posts made by very reliable sources, AJ Styles is almost definitely going to make his WWE debut in the Royal Rumble match.
Which is going to be one of the most insane pops in recent memory, guaranteed.
Where is Royal Rumble this year?
You know what?
Because if it's not in a Smarky City, I wouldn't even count on that. Although, in general, the Royal Rumble does tend to have smarkier crowds because the hardcores love to see that show. It's in Orlando, though, so maybe. That's right near NXT.
Yeah, I think the pop's going to be immense, personally. Maybe
I do know that there was a rumor, at least this morning, that AJ Styles left Japan this morning. Now, today is Wednesday, January 6th. So if AJ left Japan already today, maybe he was trying to get into the U.S. so that he could be a part of the NXT tapings that happen tomorrow.
And that could be. That very well could be. Look, if AJ's in NXT, I can tell you immediately my mind goes to Styles Bauer. 2 Bullet Club leaders.
Yeah,
for the
that's
NXT
that's the logical. It's the first leader of the Bullet Club versus the most recent leader of the Bullet Club.
Exactly.
That's a story that you don't even need to write. You just literally put those guys out there and let them tell the story themselves in the ring.
Exactly. And the kind of crowd Full Sail is, like it sells itself, on that basis. If he is just going to hotshot NXT and go straight to the main roster through the Rumble, me personally, I hope he doesn't make any appearances beforehand, because you should really let them want it, to me.
Right.
Like, this would be his first time in WWE. This is the guy that built the House of TNA. He was that guy. Now he's making this crossover. I've had friends, and I know you've seen it too, Ashton, that have said, wow, we've waited for AJ Styles coming here for a decade. So he's primed and ready for this. I think the reaction's going to be great. Me personally, here's the thing, and I want to talk about Shinsuke Nakamura too, so I don't want to go all over the place. But for me, in terms of NXT, I'm most excited for Carl Anderson. I think the guy is a freaking gem, and when I heard WWE may have picked him up too, and he could be coming there, hell yes. I think Carl Anderson is amazing on the mic. I think his look is tremendous. I think he has a great look, great in-ring. I don't know if he has like that NXT championship kind of potential, given who's kind of battling at the top of the mountain.
Well, if they're bringing in both Anderson and Gallows, we're probably going to get a little bit bulkier NXT tag division, aren't we?
Yeah, can you imagine Gallows and Anderson versus Jordan and Gable? Or the Mechanics?
Or a triple threat.
Or a triple threat, or hell, I don't know Enzo and Kaz's status, but Enzo and Kaz versus Anderson and Gallows, that could be interesting.
That would be interesting, but if we're just talking pure dream match land here, we're talking Mechanics and Jordan and Gable versus those guys.
Absolutely, without question. So, and that's another interesting thing too. Doc Gallows, You know, I mean, I'm not going to say coming home because they didn't exactly treat him the best the first time around, but Doc Gallows is somebody that I felt like his first time around, both in the Festus run and when he was Luke Gallows as part of SES, you know, the Straight Edge Society, quite an underrated big man, actually. And you know what?
Do you think they're going to continue to call him Luke Gallows, or will they keep his New Japan name Doc Gallows?
I think he's going to go back to Luke Gallows personally. That's just the
I wonder
gut
what they're going to call Carl
have.
Anderson though, because Carl Anderson in New Japan, I mean, I feel like that's his real name. I know for a fact that they can't use the Bullet Club name, but obviously they can use Balor Club if they want. So.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what they'll do with Carl Anderson, but I do like your idea of maybe kind of, you know, letting him come in, doing what he knows with Gallows in the tag division, and then maybe he'd later break off and have a singles run, because I think he has a strong singles run in him. I felt the same way in New Japan before he left, but here's the thing. Let's get to the guy, and I want you to start this one off, because you have loved Shinsuke forever, and you introduced me to him. Shinsuke Nakamura, what are you thinking about that, Ashton? Talk to us.
Well, before we move on to Shinsuke, I do want to just say Carl Anderson is not his real name, so that is most likely going to end up being some kind of a copyright issue.
Right. Okay.
Now, moving on to Shinsuke, I am so excited for this guy because when we watch New Japan, there are some guys that we see that we love in the context of New Japan, but we wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, they need to go to WWE. When I saw Nakamura the first time ever at the War of the Worlds pay-per-view in 2014, my immediate thought was, if any Japanese wrestler is going to make it in WWE, it's going to be him.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, guys, you got to understand, for those of you that listen to our Wrestle Kingdom 10 English commentary, first and foremost, thank you very much for that. We always appreciate it. But if you listen to our commentary for Styles Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship, I even said that in a WWE context, in a pro wrestling context, when they tell you the in-ring stuff really doesn't matter, it's your character and your charisma that matters, then by those metrics, Shinsuke Nakamura is one of the best professional wrestlers in the game today, if not the best.
At this point, we might as well just look at him as the male version of Kana/Asuka.
Yes.
Because that really is kind of like the reason that they hired Asuka and not some other Japanese female wrestler that's just, you know, this amazing in-ring technician or some crazy high flyer like Kairi Hojo, I think it is because of her acting ability. Because if there's going to be a language barrier, that has to be the only kind of emotional barrier between the injured or between the person participating in the match and the audience. And with Asuka, her facial expressions are incredible. Her body language tells a story. She is an actor. She knows how to portray emotion with her body, with her face, with her emotions, and she doesn't need to be the most fluent in the world English speaker in order to do that. Nakamura is the exact same way, except this dude isn't just relatively fluent at English. He's trilingual, okay? He speaks Japanese and Spanish and English, all three relatively well. Obviously, Japanese is his native tongue, but he's amazing. Even if he didn't say a single word, you would completely get what he's feeling.
I mean, the guy's a marketing machine by himself, because I didn't even know he was trilingual, and, I mean, I don't want to speak out of ignorance here, this is just a presumption on my part, but you'd think he's trilingual in what appeals to WWE's three biggest markets. I mean, the US, Mexico, and Japan. Like, that's insane to me. And, I mean, you think about the flamboyance of the guy, you know, with his attire and his entrance. And I'm glad you mentioned the term body language, because that's where WWE has really struck gold with both Hideo Itami and Asuka. They know how to emote. They know how to tell a story with their bodies. To me, Shinsuke is the exact same way. I mean, one of his best mannerisms in that match with AJ, when AJ did the gun motion, Nakamura grabs the bullet and he acts like he just swallowed it and ate it. Like, that's so Nakamura. Good. He's so animated. You know? And I think that's going to pay huge dividends. And here's the thing, too, and I don't mean to sound critical towards the people that said this. It shocks me, dude, because even friends that I think are more casual with the product that aren't a part of Tweetop or anything like that, it shocks me when they see Japanese talents like Asuka or like Hideo or now Shinsuke is going to be the latest one, how they're excited and they recognize how talented they are, but they're always concerned for them because they're a part of the WWE system. Like, I have a friend that asked me, well, do you think this is
like
gonna
all
be,
of a sudden now, like everybody that comes from Japan is going to get Yoshitatsu. Like Yoshitatsu
Exactly.
was never anything in Japan.
Exactly.
Like they do this. The WWE tends to do this thing where obviously they're infamous for their revisionist history, but they love to try and tell people that their signings are a bigger deal than they are. Hideo, Asuka, and Shinsuke are probably a bigger deal than even WWE made them seem like.
Exactly. And, you know, it's a shame that it has that stigma. Like, again, now friends ask me, well, do you think it's going to be, you know, bad for them because of, you know, language barrier or this or that or the other? And I'm thinking, you have got three of the best that we've seen, you know, Japanese talents coming to WWE, Asuka, Hideo, and now inevitably Shinsuke. Shinsuke is already trilingual. Hideo works his ass off in English, and I actually feel like he'd be pretty far along if not for this injury getting derailed. That's just the hope and the faith that I have in him.
Well, and that's honestly, I mean, we talk about Hideo and his injury, and that's obviously one of the topics that we were planning on talking about already. Let's just kind of, you know, touch on that. That might have been the best thing that's ever happened to him.
Right.
I mean, obviously injuries are terrible, but that amount of time that he's getting off, he's spent, obviously, I'm assuming his work ethic, I can't imagine he did anything else, spent that entire time learning. He's learning the WWE style. He's learning how to work a camera. He's learning everything that goes into it. And more importantly, I think he's learning to be a little bit more fluent and kind of lose the accent a little bit with his English.
And yeah, and you know what? I just gotta be honest, and again, I hate to come off a certain way, but like you said, Yoshitatsu wasn't anything. And then if you want to use the example like somebody like Yoshiro Tajiri, you know, Tajiri to me, while I like Tajiri, I was actually a Tajiri fan, he never had that look that was going to be like main event caliber.
Well, and plus with Tajiri, you know, I mean, you say look, I say size. To me, what was he, like 5'8"?
Well, yeah, that's really what I'm trying to articulate. Like, he was a smaller guy.
I think Nakamura is like 6'3".
Oh, see, and that's the thing, Ashton, because I look at Nakamura especially, and Hideo too, but again, I want to keep the focus on Shinsuke. I look at Shinsuke with his height, his look, his charisma. That is a potential world champion to me. That is a guy that's going to be in big level programs to me. I mean, people are already talking about their WrestleMania dream match now is Nakamura versus Bryan at a WrestleMania. You know, the Knee Plus versus Nakamura's Bomaye. So, you know, there you go. I mean, it practically writes itself. But if you're already putting that stock in Shinsuke, you've got to have faith that WWE's going to know how to handle him. And I think they will. I don't think they'll screw this up. And knowing that Triple H has managed to do the impossible, I mean, to me, 2016 has already been topped. I don't know who else they could get. In fact, I was even telling somebody the only two people they could get now that could top the significance of these signings would be freaking Tanahashi and Okada. You know, that's just it. I mean,
and to me, as amazing as Tanahashi is, he's not the type that I would expect to succeed in WWE.
And I would agree. I think, you know,
maybe Okada, but of those big three, they got the right one.
They did. They really did. I think Shinsuke.
And that's not even me saying that Nakamura is the best of the three overall. To me, he's just the best of the three for what the WWE looks for in a sports entertainer.
Exactly. And because you said sports entertainer, like, that's why if they ever did pick up Okada, I think Okada could do well there.
I think Okada could do well because of the athleticism, and he's got, the 6'3" frame and the look and the blonde spiked hair and stuff. But on that same note, he doesn't have the charisma that Nakamura has.
And that's where Nakamura edges everybody else out. Yeah. Because you look at
this guy.
I've
seen people talking about these signings, and everyone's excited. Oh, AJ Styles is finally in WWE. And yeah, that's great, but AJ's also 38 years old. AJ has maybe 3 years left of him being him in his career, maybe 4 tops. I mean, I think Jericho was still pretty solid at 42, but he was the exception, not the rule. AJ is he's in the twilight years of his career right now, I think. He is in his prime still, but he's also winding down. Nakamura is 33, 34 at the oldest. And the fact that people aren't talking enough about him blows my mind.
It blows my mind, too, and here's the thing, as weird as this is going to be...
you know what, John? I just looked it up. He's 35, but that's the beginning of their prime. Like, to me, a wrestler's prime is 35 to 40. that is a wrestler's prime right there. And you could obviously say, well, Randy Orton, no John Cena, and all these other things. There are a lot of different exceptions, but if you just kind of try and figure out what the average is, what the normal, what you can learn to expect, 35 to 40 is when wrestlers are usually at their best. That happened with Jericho, Austin, Foley, like all of the big names really. That's where they land the big stuff, like the best stuff that they do in their careers.
Right, and as weird as it's going to be to say, and I hope everybody can follow me on this, I mean, if you are an AJ Styles fan, be thankful that he is the age he is and he decided to jump ship now, because to me, knowing he's 38 already, I don't think WWE is going to screw around. I think they're going to pump out everything with AJ that they can, and that's what kind of concerns me, to be honest. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, and now that we know that John Cena is injured and he won't be wrestling for the first 6 months of 2016, or, because it's Cena, it'll be 4. AJ Styles, I think, has a much better chance of being, at the very least, a United States champion this year.
Oh, completely agree. Again, I think WWE with AJ Styles, given his age, given his name brand and everything else, is going to have a sense of urgency to get the mileage out of him, to get all the big matches. Yep. And that is, I'll be honest, that is kind of my concern with Nakamura a little bit. I don't know if they'll have the same urgency. I think they will kind of maybe dick around a little bit, which I think is a shame, because I want to see Nakamura in the mix straight away.
Honestly, dude, I'm going to tell you what I already told you and what I've been telling everybody. I think that specifically these two guys, I think Anderson and Gallows make sense to put it in NXT, but to me, these guys specifically, AJ and Nakamura, I think that they're immediately going to get put on SmackDown, because WWE wants to make SmackDown an A show. They want it to be a big deal again. It's on USA Network. They're bringing in Mauro Ranallo to do commentary, everything. I think that these signings had a lot to do with that. I think AJ and Nakamura are going to be a couple of SmackDown mainstays. We might get them on Raw, but there's also, in my mind, there's a possibility we'll never see either one of them on Raw. I don't want that to be the case, because I want the biggest audience, and that is on Raw, to see them. But would I be surprised if they were SmackDown only guys? Not at all.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that is the case, Ashton, it's about time. As somebody who has loved SmackDown for a long time, I mean, up until the last few years, it'd be great to see it get its own distinct identity again.
Yes,
and I know you and I would be watching on the regular. I mean, goddamn, Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles SmackDown
I'm
going
to just say it right now, John, because we aren't returning to our WWE reviews until next week. If we watch SmackDown this week and it has a legitimate, like, a show kind of feel, and it just doesn't feel like, oh, well, this is all just a bunch of crap that they're reviewing on Raw and doing like a practice run for the next Raw, like what it's felt like for the last few years, we might just have to return to reviewing SmackDown on TWitWoW.
And I would not be opposed. I mean, look, guys, the landscape in one night when this news first broke completely changed.
Yeah.
Because everybody has been like, oh my God, AJ. And again, I'm with you, Ashton. I wish there was more hype behind Nakamura. And it really does show you, in my mind, maybe I'm wrong about this, but how ignorant I think a portion of wrestling fans may be about Shinsuke Nakamura.
The crazy thing is, like, even when you think about Reddit, when you think about the Squared Circle subreddit, you think, oh, these are like the most hardcore, knowledgeable fans. They watch every promotion and everything. They did wrestling awards, and every single award went to someone in WWE or NXT.
Crazy.
Everything. Like, even their match of the year was Sasha Bailey. Like, are you kidding me? Like, did you watch Lucha Underground or New Japan or PWG? There was so much more. And Sasha Bailey was amazing, don't get me wrong, but still, like, that right there shows you just how closed in they are right now.
And that's just it. I mean, with this signing, guys, all ready to start 2016, I think a tremendous tone has been set, for wrestling, at least by WWE standards. But then you look at Lucha Underground second season, 3 weeks now, still too long to wait, personally.
I was
talking
to quite a few people about Lucha Underground season 2 today, and it's looking like it is going to be a shorter second season, but the fact that it's starting later, I think will make up for that. So I still expect it to end sometime in August, so it'll probably be in like the I don't know, like 29, 30 episode range rather than 39, but it's hopefully then season 2 doesn't start so late, or season 3 rather, doesn't start quite as late as season 2 did.
Right. So, I mean, you've got that going on. And to me, and that's the thing, it's funny how some people are like Triple H's legacy, like for everything he's done in ring, it's probably going to be overshadowed what he's done on the executive level.
Yes.
Things like this. And
Just
I
think,
have to agree.
Triple H, you know who he took over for in the role that he's in right now that he's bringing all these guys in from?
John Laurinaitis, right?
Yeah, what a failure that guy was.
To think that Triple H, in assuming that position, patched up relationships with the likes of like Bruno Sammartino and the Warrior, and secured signings like this. I mean, this is his real legacy.
Yeah, I mean, let's just look at Triple H and what he's done as the talent operations guy or talent relations guy. I'm just going to go by their indie names to bring an impact to it. El Generico, Kevin Steen, Kenta, Pac. Help me out here, John. Right now, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Kana. It is insane how many people Triple H has brought in from around the world. And I think what's even better than the fact that he isn't afraid to sign people that already are over on the indies and bring them in. Well, and speaking of the indies, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Uhaa Nation, Samoa
Swan.
Joe, Rich Swann. Well,
Rich
yeah, we'll talk about him eventually too. But then also the fact that he's found athletes from pro sports and from amateur sports and brought them in, and they're getting over. Baron Corbin and Chad Gable being the two that are at the top of my mind right now.
Yeah, I mean, he has done tremendous work. He set WWE's world, because I keep wanting to say wrestling world, but we always have to put in perspective,
Right.
it is just WWE.
And he's the reason for the Performance Center, too. That was his love child, or his brainchild, rather.
Yeah, and look at how well that's turned out. I mean, you and I and Ray and I watched the...
This is NXT, and this is Triple H's baby, but let's keep it on NXT.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's just it. Knowing what NXT could be in store for this year,
yes.
With these signings and with things, I mean, again, I was already talking about the three things completely independent of the things. You've got Athena that's going to burst on the scene. She's going to set the division on fire with that finisher. My God, she's going to kill everyone.
The only thing that I'm afraid of is that she's going to be like 2005 Petey Williams, where people don't give a crap about her match until she hits the finisher.
I do worry about that as well, but see, that's the beauty of her being in the Performance Center, because I guarantee you they'll be working tirelessly with her in promo classes, getting the character so that she really has something. Because to be fair to Petey, the most interesting he was, as a character, was when he was Petey Pump, the Scott Steiner sidekick.
Yep.
I hope that Athena doesn't suffer the same fate, because even the name is, Athena, that's the goddess of war. I mean,
they're
amazing.
Not keeping her as that, though, I don't think.
Yeah, they're probably not keeping her as that, but like even, on the indie circuit, I love the name and stuff like that. Hopefully they can come up with something comparable to that. So I'm excited for that. Hideo returning is going to be huge, because I think he's probably chomping at the bit to come back, and we're chomping at the bit to see him back, especially if it is going to inevitably lead to Bowery Tommy for the NXT Championship, which is quite a full circle story, seeing as how Hideo kayfabe-wise brought Bower into NXT to combat the Ascension, and now these two all this time later are battling at the top of the mountain for the gold. So that's going to be a prime story for 2016. Joe, to me, is an enigma, because my personal feeling. I think he's going to feud with John Cena this year. Don't really know so much about that now, because, he's in a weird place on NXT and John Cena now has this injury. So I don't know how they're going to meet in the middle, but I think Joe's going to have a very productive year. What about you, Ashton? What's on your mind, independent of Shinsuke and Styles and all that? Like, what are the big things you're looking for NXT?
The big things that I'm looking most forward to in 2015, Hideo is the biggest one, I think. I'm really looking forward to him coming back, because the way that they were building him up last year, between the whole build at WrestleMania and the little documentary we got on him, and then the fact that he got injured right after that, literally like a month and a half after participating in the armbar, was devastating. And he's been out since then, and it seems like it's been forever, and I can't wait for him to get back. But also, I am most interested in the Divas and tag team divisions, because with the Divas, Asuka versus Nia Jax is imminent. I feel like Asuka Bailey is probably going to happen. I'm looking forward to see what some of the less established but still over girls like Alexa Bliss and Carmella are going to do. And obviously, I'm really looking forward to seeing my girls Billie Kay and Peyton Royce getting some kind of a semblance of a push.
Yeah, buddy. Getting that push.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, I mean, to me, I've got to mention, too, I've got to give a shout out to my boy yet again, Rich Swann. I think he's going to debut this year.
Dude,
I am so excited.
You know, I love Rich Swann, and I think that he could be great in the singles, but I want him to enter in the tag team division, and I don't care who it's with. Put him with Gargano or Ciampa. I said Gargano or Ciampa. If you want to stick with the WWE's theme of just sticking all the black guys together, Rich Swann and Apollo Crews would be incredible.
I was thinking, oh my God, it's so funny how our minds work when we have ESPN, because I was thinking, like, well, they could just do the prototypical, hey, you two guys are black, team up, and I was thinking Swann Crews.
That would fit, too, because they both work PWG a lot together.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it wouldn't work quite as well because Swann, when he was in PWG, always tagged with Ricochet.
Yeah, Inner City Machine Guns.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, they are.
Just bring in ACH and have Rich Swann and ACH do all the flippy shit in the world.
Oh my God, yes, I could get behind that. But yeah, I mean, knowing that I got to see Swann, that I talked to him a lot, like it's the same way as it was with Solomon Crow. You know, unfortunately that didn't work out. Swann, though, here's the thing, I do think it'll work out, man.
Yeah.
Again, it's optimism for sure, but I'm really excited to see him debut. I'm excited to see, you know, where it'll take him. So yeah, Swann and Athena in terms of actual like appearances, that's what I'm excited about. 2016, I think, will continue to be the year for tag teams because holy shit, the mechanics are amazing. And I do think Jordan and Gable will get their tag title run this year. I do think Enzo and Cass will get called up this year. I mean, if not now, when is it going to happen then? Because like, there's really nothing for them to do. Yeah, just keeping it to NXT. What else? Let me think. What? Sami Zayn. I don't know. He may do a little more. Honestly,
I'm telling you, man. I think Sami is going to get called up very soon, especially with Cena out with injury. I think we're going to see Sami in the Rumble.
I mean, honestly, dude, I don't know how people are going to feel about this. I'm still actually sticking by one of your original predictions. I still believe we're getting Owens Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship at Mania. I could even.
You really think they're going to put the title back on Owens?
I do. I really do. You know, because they've been having this feud, Owens and Ambrose, and even though Owens hasn't been able to get the W yet, like he's still staying in the title picture. And I just think it's only a matter of time before it catches up with Ambrose and they put the strap back on Owens so he can drop it to Zayn at Mania for a WrestleMania moment for him. So I'm still actually sticking with your original prediction because that still just sounds absolutely perfect to me. Now, you don't need the Intercontinental Championship to make Zayn Owens mean something at a Mania, given their history and everything else, but I think they'll do it to sweeten the pot. Completely agree with you about the women. Personally, I would love to see Emma continue to be dominant this year. I would love to see her win the NXT Women's Championship.
Oh, dude. That's the thing, is the NXT Women's division is so stacked, you can't really... And especially with Emma, who has been around for as long as she has. She's like the Tyler Breeze of the women's division.
She really is. And the crazy thing is, like, I'm so glad she came back because you and I and everybody else have done nothing but rave about how great her heel character is and her heel work. To me, if you're uncomfortable with putting the belt on Nia Jax and maybe you want a heel champion before you put it on Asuka, I see no reason why you couldn't put it on Emma and revisit that feud one last time. I mean, they're still in Asuka's crosshairs. So really, like, what better humiliation, what better victory for Asuka than to take the belt away from that camp just when they think they're starting to ride high? You know, you never know. But definitely think Asuka will be NXT Women's Champion this year as well. That's another prediction I have. And yeah, man, I'm just excited for next week because finally the recaps are over. We can look to the future. The signings are crazy. There is so much buzz going on right now. And you know what? WWE, I think with all the injuries and everything, desperately needed this buzz because you and I were even talking, and I know I said to you, this was one year where the road to WrestleMania kind of lost its punch for being the road to WrestleMania. And I feel like these signings and just everything going on has injected some much needed life into the product.
Yeah, no doubt. This, to me, the biggest signing is easily Nakamura. Styles is also massive. And even if you don't want to even talk about the signings, all the people that we're going to be getting back from injury this year is just huge in and of itself. In NXT alone, Hideo and Sammy are both huge. And then on the main roster, good God, the list is massive.
Yeah, I mean,
I do think now that Cena is out, that opens up a spot, and we thought Rollins would open up a spot too, so I could easily be wrong about this. But I think that there's a very distinct possibility that we could get either A, a Sammy call-up sooner than they intended, or B, they might decide to just pull the trigger and bring Bryan back prematurely. And when I say prematurely, I'd say that on the basis of thinking that they had no intention of bringing him back before Mania was over, so as to not ruin the Roman push, but they might decide to do it just because they need somebody else at the top of the card.
Yeah, Ashton, that is what makes the landscape, I think, so fascinating right now, because it's not just the people coming in, but also the people, to your point, that'll be coming back. Because you think if they bring Bryan back, my God, you've opened up again the dream match for so many people right now for a Mania card, Nakamura versus Bryan. I also think Bryan versus Styles has appeal. Randy Orton, who I think is one of the best workers, if he could ever stay consistently healthy and not get bad shoulder problems, he's one of the best workers in the game right now.
What's also, dude, this is hilarious. You know how we were comparing Tanahashi and Okada to Austin and The Rock all throughout Wrestle Kingdom? There are some crazy parallels for Nakamura and Orton too.
Yeah.
Because, the one big thing is that they both won their respective companies' big championship before they were ready.
Ah, okay. See, I didn't
Nakamura won the title very early in his career, and I think he, even to this day, is the youngest IWGP World Champion of all time.
Wow.
And he wasn't ready for it. He hadn't really found himself yet. And then he kind of fell by the wayside for the likes of Tanahashi, just like what happened with Orton falling to the wayside for the likes of Cena, and I guess you could also include Batista in that. And eventually they kind of found themselves, where Orton became the Viper, Nakamura became the King of Strong Style.
Yeah, and then they just thrived from there.
Exactly. And the difference to me is I keep on saying Tanahashi. Nakamura, and they both have an injury history, but I feel like Nakamura works through his injuries and is less likely to get injured on any given year.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the people that'll return and how they match up with these signings, I mean, all these fresh matchups that are emerging, I mean, hell, even Roman Reigns, I know a lot of people like to take the piss out of him. I'm intrigued by a Roman Reigns-AJ Styles matchup. I can dig it. I just think that the battlefield, that the landscape just taken on a whole new dimension this year with these signings and knowing that these returns. I mean, Seth Rollins. When Seth Rollins comes back, can you imagine him having a stare down with AJ Styles or Nakamura?
Seth Rollins versus either of those guys.
Exactly.
Cesaro coming back. Cesaro Nakamura.
Yes. Absolutely, unequivocally.
I imagine Cesaro doing the shoulder cannons and Nakamura catching both of them and shoving them in his mouth.
Exactly. Guys, with all of this fantasy warfare that we're booking right now, you can see the promise that this year has.
Well, you can see why we're so excited. And we didn't even talk about the tag division yet.
Oh, my God.
Jordan and Gable are going to be champions.
Yes.
And I think that might happen as early as NXT TakeOver Dallas.
Right. Yeah, could be. Absolutely. So
that actually seems like the perfect time to take the titles off the Mechanics too, because they won in October, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe they did.
Yeah, it was October or November, so that would be a 5 or 6 month run. Give the titles to Jason and Jordan and Chad Gable, and when those guys win the titles.
Oh my God, the problem, and then when you put the titles on them, you got Gallows and Anderson in the system.
I know, yes.
So then they unseat the Mechanics as this top heel team.
We haven't even talked about the other guys that WWE is negotiating with, and I emphasize negotiating with because the person that posted about this happening also said that he thinks that these guys are going to use the WWE's numbers and the numbers that they're negotiating with them to just get better deals in Japan. And those names are Bad Luck Fale, Tama Tonga, and Rocky Romero. Rocky Romero, I believe WWE wants to hire as a trainer rather than an in-ring competitor. So that alone might keep him in Japan. I do believe I heard something about Fale being potentially offered a better deal in Japan. Haven't heard anything about Tama Tonga yet, but there are also the same guy that said that he thought Fale would stick in Japan and just get a better deal using this negotiation tactic, said that Tama Tonga would probably do the same thing. So I'm not actually fully getting on the bandwagon of, oh my God, they're coming to NXT, but it's possible. Anything's possible at this point. If WWE can snatch Shinsuke freaking Nakamura out from New Japan, anything is possible at this point.
Exactly. I won't really entertain the notion given what you just said about Tama Tonga and Bad Luck Fale, but I will tell everybody what I told you, Ashton. I think Bad Luck Fale would be a great addition again with this new age of big men. You got Strowman and then you would have Fale. You know, really there would be a decreasing need for the likes of Big Show and Mark Henry. Not to mention that
big scary guy with the Bruno Sammartino face and the big hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When the hell is he gonna debut? Because I know there were people excited about him. You know, so
I don't even know if he can wrestle yet. I mean, he's been training long enough. I imagine he can, but I don't know. They might do the Braun Strowman thing with him, where they just kind of send him right up to the main roster, or they might decide to go a more traditional route and give him an NXT run first. I don't know. I mean, and maybe, if they put the title on Hideo, it would make sense to kind of debut that guy as a monster heel and have him beat Hideo for the title if that's the kind of way they want to go with it. But then you also have to wonder if Baron Corbin is ever going to get the NXT title.
I can't even give a yes or a no on that because Baron Corbin had such a stellar year last year going into this year. You know I'm primed and ready for Baron Corbin to carry that championship and be the heel of NXT. I just don't know if they share my sentiments. Obviously, I think Tama Tonga could do well if that's true and they scoop him up. I think he has a great look. Being Samoan, WWE, loved it. I mean, Usos, Reigns. I mean, Samoa Joe got a nice monster push recently.
John, all of this crazy New Japan stuff happening, you almost have to wonder how long it's going to be before WWE sets their sights on Cody Hall.
Yeah, I mean, nepotism, right?
Yeah.
So you never know. I mean,
we even just saw the episode of Breaking Ground where Scott was in the training center as like an interim coach.
Right. I mean, dude, to me, if we thought 2015 was anything, and don't get me wrong, it had its ups and it's really
to me, 2015 was one of the worst years in wrestling history just for WWE, but one of the best years just overall in wrestling history.
Right, and now I'm wondering, with this tone set, can 2016 top it? Because
I think it can. Because here's my thing. With 2015, you had Lucha Underground Season 1, but you also missed out on the first 8 episodes because those all happened in 2014, right?
Right.
And, to me, the best NXT live special of all time happened in 2014. 2015... NXT was amazing year-round, but the live specials didn't quite deliver to the degree that some of the 2014 ones did. I do feel like 2015 was a great year for wrestling as a whole, but I think that everything is kind of falling into place for 2016 to be way better.
I'm just waiting for the explosion. I mean that in a good way. I feel like there is a groundswell.
We know, John, whenever you mean that in a bad way, you don't say explosion, you say the other shoe to drop.
Exactly, yeah. So just so everybody knows the lingo that we use here. But yeah, I mean, I just think there is something happening here, and I just think an explosion is imminent, whether it's AJ debuting at the Rumble, Shinsuke doing whatever. I mean, you got Apollo Crews on NXT. I'm wondering what kind of year he's going to have. Elias Sampson seems to be kind of a question mark because I do think there's a great heel character there. How far are they going to push that? I mean, just anything can happen in 2016. Hell, Emma and Zack Ryder might break up and she might come back to me. That's how hopeful I'm feeling about everything. So, yeah, I'm just really excited for it. And can I just say, too, on a side note, I'm loving how much fun Finn Balor's having with this.
Yeah.
Standing outside WWE headquarters with his Battle Club t-shirt, checking his imaginary watch. He should have been here by now.
Oh, yeah. I love that. He's having such fun with it. He's having a ball, man.
He is.
The teases and the constant hashtag Balor clubs that he's posting and, pointing out that and we didn't even notice this, that Carl Anderson wore Finn Balor demon trunks on Wrestle Kingdom 10.
It's great, dude.
Did you see that picture?
No, I didn't.
Dude, Carl Anderson was wearing the trunks that have like the demon teeth on them and stuff.
Right.
At Wrestle Kingdom.
Crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I didn't even register that.
Yeah.
I love the brotherhood and the camaraderie that these guys have with each other.
Awesome. I wonder. Oh, dude, there's so many possibilities. Because we keep on saying Balor Club, but then that would almost mean AJ has to go straight to the main roster. Because if he's ever in NXT, there would be so much tension, and you would have to do something with it.
I mean, if there was ever like any worldwide wrestling continuity, AJ would be at NXT. He'd see Gallows and Anderson, and he'd be like, "So, the last New Japan show, are we gonna talk about it?"
Yeah.
No, not really. But obviously, a reset button's always push. And here's my question to you, Ashton. Now, entertaining seriously for just a second, because I'd feel bad if we didn't, and clearly we're having a lot of fun here. If Balor Club would materialize, I mean, that would automatically, right, necessitate a heel Finn Balor with his guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Hideo having to fight up against, Upstream.
Oh, dude. Dude, don't do that to me, because that makes me think that they would team up Hideo with Shinsuke.
That would be incredible.
Oh, that's not fair.
All out warfare, man. I mean,
that's almost not even a smart thing to do either, because if you put Hideo next to Shinsuke, it's going to make Hideo look bad.
Yeah, I almost feel bad for Hideo with this Shinsuke signing, because he worked so hard, then he got injured, and then, I think the biggest thing going for Hideo, or at least one of the biggest things, was his marketability to Japanese audiences, and then Shinsuke shows up.
Yeah. And that's, to me, too, that's one of the big reasons that they signed these guys, is because the network just made its debut in Japan.
Right.
The WWE network just became available in Japan, and not only are they just kind of showing up there and they want to get the word out, they're actually competing now against New Japan World, because it's very similar in price. I think WWE Network is slightly more expensive, maybe 1,200 yen rather than the 999 yen that New Japan World would be. But it's so close, and they're competing now, because in Japan, New Japan World is what the WWE Network is in the US. It's everywhere. There are probably well over 1 million people that have it in Japan, and now WWE wants a slice of that pie, brother.
Yeah, man.
Oh, you like this Nakamura guy? Yeah. Give us your money.
Exactly. So you like Shinsuke, huh? Be a shame if he was no longer on New Japan. Funny how that works, huh?
Be a shame if he were to leave the country.
And it's funny because on an international front, WWE for Japan has got Hideo, Shinsuke, and Asuka.
Yep.
See, here's where I struggle,
because
because
you have to include AJ and Balor in that too.
Yeah,
those guys
and AJ and Balor.
I mean, Gaijin or not, they were huge stars in Japan.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For Mexico, I mean, I hate to even say they have Del Rio for Mexico, given that whole fallout, but they have Kalisto that they seem to be starting to push.
You know what though, Kalisto? I don't think Kalisto was ever really that big of a star in Japan. He's always been bigger in America, and I think he was even bigger in Japan. Or I said not in Japan. I meant not in Mexico.
Right.
Because he's been bigger in America, and I think he was bigger in Japan too. But I feel like he had a very, very, very short run with AAA.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe Del Rio still received well in Mexico, I don't know. But I guess in WWE, I'll put it like this. In WWE's mind for Mexico, they have Del Rio.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I'm going to put it, because I obviously don't agree. But
yeah, I'm looking right here, and he was in AAA for just over a year.
Right. So, they have that. They do have Kalisto, though, who I do think could have international appeal when they tour and stuff. Even if he doesn't have it already, he'll probably be an attraction. So, internationally speaking, WWE isn't doing too bad. I mean, when Cesaro comes back, if they ever got serious about pushing him, you got your Swiss superstar right there. So, yeah, not bad.
Buddy.
And, of course, Canada runs the world. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho still making appearances. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not doing too bad, man. Not doing too bad at all. At least, again, on that front. I mean, 2016 could be their year to really reassert their dominance, reassert, we're WWE, bound to us, whatever with these signings. They just got to take it. It's all about the creative. Because even in 2015, you could say their roster was stacked talent-wise, but if you don't know how to utilize it, it ain't worth it.
I don't even agree with that, though, John. I mean, sure, there was obviously talent on the roster, but there were way too many injuries.
Yeah, it was very injury-prone year that year.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, we can have a healthier locker room this year.
Yeah, I mean, with Rollins and everything, that was great, but at the top, they lost Bryan, They lost Orton. Like, Lesnar's a part-timer. There are very few credible main eventers in WWE.
Yeah, so I mean, two things. Healthier locker room for sure. I would like to see us. I mean, in a way, I guess that's already shot because Cena is injured, and that injury happened within 2016. So already, I almost look at that as a bad omen.
And he's gonna miss the first half of the year too.
Yeah, like I almost look at that as a bad omen. Like, holy shit, if he got injured already, what else? And I don't know if you read this, Ashton, but there were actually concerns about, because Balor's working so many live events, that some of the higher ups are worried that he's going to be burnt out or something bad's going to happen to him before they can get the mileage on the main roster. Well, then haul ass.
They don't. He doesn't want to get called up. That's the thing. He keeps on talking about, like, he feels like getting called up to the main roster would be a step back for his career. So what do you do with someone like that?
I don't know, because
you run him into the freaking ground while you still have him.
I guess so, because even they wouldn't be pompous enough to show him the door, I don't think. Like,
exactly.
They know what they have. Like,
they're doing to Finn what Stephanie threatened to do to Roman on Raw.
Exactly. Well, I think Finn knows that they know what they have, and he's probably feeling also like, oh, you want me to go to the main roster? Yeah, I feel really comfortable here. Oh, what's that? You're gonna do this? You and I both know you're not. You're not. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to sell these t-shirts, excuse me. That's just it.
So many t-shirts.
Yes, so many t-shirts. Oh, yeah, and you do get a portion of these sales. So, I mean, just keep watching the money flow that I'm making you.
Yeah. Welcome.
So, yeah, that's just it. I think Balor, and rightfully so, probably has an attitude about it, because Vince probably like, damn it, that Finn will do what I tell him to do. He's going to the main roster. Nah, I'm kind of building something here. You know what building something's like with the XFL? Yeah, I'm going to go back to this main event now. So, yeah, Finn is probably having the time of his life doing that.
I'm going to go back to putting on another 4+ star match at one of these shows.
Yeah, I'm really wearing Meltzer's hand out, but I mean, I'm sure he's grateful for it.
Was that like a masturbation joke?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
But
just wanted to be clear here.
Regardless, I mean, in all seriousness, bringing the tone back down and really maintaining focus, I mean, it's insane. I think I'm already curious what AJ's going to do at WrestleMania 32, and that sentence shouldn't even make sense. Like, it doesn't even sound right at first. But, yeah, they'll probably get him in the Rumble, do something there. And to bring it full circle with NXT, I mean, I think Nakamura as well will hotshot to the main roster, so I'm not even going to really worry what he's going to do there. But with NXT, I mean, Hideo, Sammy. I am going to put Elias Sampson in that conversation. I know it sounds weird. I see a promising heel there for 2016. Baron Corbin will probably continue to do great. Joe, very curious what he will do, because I actually agreed with your sentiments, Ashton, when London was going off the air. You thought Joe might go back to being babyface now that he got what he wanted, and he may go back to being that badass babyface killer. Yep. I could see that too. I think NXT, they'll just continue to dominate. I mean, I don't even really know, to be honest, how you raise the bar after going to London and selling out and having a jam-packed arena. Like, what do you do next? I'm not saying NXT has peaked, not by any means, but I don't know what new bars you're going to have to vault over as a brand. So I'm curious what they're going to come up with. Again, I think the tag team division will continue to thrive. The women's division, I mean, the three women that I'm really keeping an eye out for, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, to Ashton's point, I know he's looking out for them as well, and, of course, Athena. Like, everybody's just going to kick ass this year. I just want the year to really get started, like next week to get here.
And I also want to toss in their 2016 debut that I'm looking forward to that nobody is talking about, Levis Valenzuela Jr.
Levis Valenzuela Jr. Well, why do I feel like we talked about that before in personal conversation?
We have talked about him before. He was a part of the signing class that brought in Billie Kay and Peyton Royce and Apollo, etc. But no one's talking about him. But he is insanely over at house shows, and he's got an amazing look, and he's insanely athletic.
Well, there you go. I mean, you never know who's really going to come to NXT and claim it as their own. So if that's what you're anticipating, obviously.
I'm going to just send you a link to give you a little bit of a reminder, John.
Yeah, definitely.
He's got a big old afro now.
That's right. Okay, let me see. Yeah, he does have a good look. He could go. Put him with Swan.
Yes! That's the thing, too. I think they've actually teamed up at house shows before.
Yeah, no, put those two together. I love that guy's look. I think it's a look that actually complements Swan's perfectly. And I was even getting ready to say, on a personal standpoint, you guys know, Swan's my personal debut of the year.
Oh, yeah.
I've watched the guy in Force One. I've watched him in PWG, a little bit of Japan, like Dragon Gate. That's the promotion. He did a lot of Dragon Gate. I'm just so happy to see him here. I think he could do very well. So yeah, I mean, the end of Balor's NXT Championship reign definitely has got to happen this year. I'm curious who's going to drop it to. I mean, immediate bets say Hideo.
I
Yeah.
just forgot. Not forgot. I just remembered one last 2016 debut that we're going to get that I am anticipating big time.
Okay.
Biff Busick.
That's right. Oh my god. Yeah, this year is gonna kick ass.
So John, just to close this out, because we've talked about everyone that's already in NXT. Let's make a very quick, I was going to say top 5, but that might take too long. Top 3 people that aren't signed to Lucha Underground or Ring of Honor or New Japan or WWE or NXT right now that you want to see in NXT. Do you want me to go first so you have time to think?
Yeah, you go first, man.
Okay. For me, I'm going to just count down from 3 to 1. Number 3, Trevor Lee.
Nice.
This dude is incredible. His strikes are great. Power offense. He's got the look of he might be the same size, but he looks bigger than Daniel Bryan, and he's got a similar look to Bryan. Number 2, Zack Sabre Jr.
Yes.
They even had an article on WWE.com talking about Evolve stars that might make it in NXT, and he was, I believe, number 1 on that list. So, ZSJ, please.
Yes.
And number 1, a complete pipe dream on my part, but I'm still keeping my hopes up. Timothy Thatcher.
Yeah, you're a guy. Yeah, I would love to see that.
Just to toss out a few other names that I know you won't mention because you're not as familiar with them. Big one for me, Jimmy Havoc. He's currently working in Progress Pro Wrestling. It's a really fun product. John, we need to catch up on it.
Okay.
Maybe a few guys, I don't know contract situations, but if Aerostar becomes a free agent, if Pentagon or Phoenix become free agents, if Brian Cage becomes a free agent, lots of guys there that I think are definitely potential prospects. And I know that you're probably going to at least think about him, but I just want to toss out the name Ricochet because he is going to be in Lucha Underground Season 2 and 3, but then his contract with them runs out. And as much as I hope he sticks around with them, WWE's probably going to offer him a decent amount of money.
Yeah, money makes the world go round, brother.
So now, John, your top 3 list.
Okay, it's going to be a bit difficult for me because I'm not as savvy about the crop that's available as you are, so you'll forgive me.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say if you do want to include some like lower card guys that you're familiar with in ROH or TNA or New Japan that might be able to get plucked away with the right amount of money from WWE, I'm not going to object.
Okay. Well, I definitely had to replicate your answer of Zack Sabre Jr. because that was actually one of the first names that came to mind when we were going through your list.
And I'm glad that you're not afraid to replicate answers either because, we don't have to come up with 6 completely unique names.
Oh, no, and I didn't even plan on it because, yeah, when you said Zack Sabre Jr., I'm like, well, screw that. I'm not going to try and rack my brain because that to me would be a huge score for 2016. Honestly, on the tag team front, because NXT is doing so well for tag teams, I just thought of a team that I don't really know what they're doing right now, but I'd love to see, like, I hope that their stock's still up. I hope that they're still active. Osirian Portal. I think it's an amazing tag team. I don't know if they're still in Chikara or what they're doing. I'd love to see NXT pick those guys up and then be a part of the tag division. They would fit right in with Full Sail. So
I'm going to look them up. Right now. Here we go.
Yeah.
Amasis and Ophidian are 5'9" and 5'8" respectively.
Right.
I'm going to look up to find out how old they are because that could be an issue as well.
That is true.
I can't find anything on Amasis, actually. Ophidian is... again, no age. Oh, yeah, no age listed. It says he debuted in 2007, so probably safe to assume he's probably late 20s.
Probably. Funny that they can't have ages. It's actually kind of creepy given the gimmick, Egyptian and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Keeping their ages concealed. But yeah, I actually, because I was a big fan of Osirian Portal and Force One, and I think they're an amazing, really fun tag team.
Yeah, they would make for a really good kind of like what Gargano and Ciampa were, where you just kind of stick them in a tournament or kind of debut them and have them win a few matches and challenge for the titles and put over the champions kind of position.
Yeah, definitely. So I've got Zack Sabre Jr. taken from yours because we just both agree that would be one of the signings of 2016 if they could score that.
If he wasn't already in WWE and we already knew that they didn't like his style, Chris Hero would probably be on this list too.
Oh, yeah. Osirian Portal. I can't say Adam Cole as bad as I want to.
Adam Cole! Baby!
Dude, so bad. You don't, and I think you do know, so I can't even say you don't even know because I think you do know every year I want it to be the year they scoop him up, but contracts and things like that.
O'Reilly.
Yeah, and O'Reilly, and also...
And Roddy Strong. Oh, God.
And Roddy Strong. And you know what? I'll be honest, too. And again, I'm not even entertaining the name seriously in the discussion. I'm just saying names that I wish could be in the discussion. Jay Lethal. Because when I heard rumors that they may have picked him up, I was so happy. I'm like, it's time. The guy has never really been better. But anyway, I'm stalling. I need to think of a third name. So we've got Zack Sabre Jr. Osirian Portal is just a tag team, which will count as one entity. And then for a third name...
Ashley Remington.
Ashley Remington. Honestly, it's not too bad. Who would I say? God, this is so hard.
John, you seem to really despise that Dalton Castle fellow.
I know. God, I'm so pissed that he had the whole thing with the boys and everything. God, why did you have to screw up Mike Bennett? Because you would have already, whatever.
He already debuted for TNA too. He was on their Pop TV debut shit.
Yeah, as the Miracle Mike Bennett. Yeah, that's great. Man, God, why do I suck so bad at these things?
He's still such a good promo.
I wonder if maybe, because I know Kimberly's kind of setting the world on fire in Shikara, maybe she could maybe make a debut this year for the women's division. She's really, her profile has grown considerably. I'd like to see her. So I've got one main single star, a tag team. I'll put Kimberly for my women's division. I know those weren't exactly the rules, but I thought, get a nice little diversity. I'll say her for 2016.
Well, you know what? I'm going to copy you then, and I'm going to try and come up with a female and a tag team as well.
Okay.
All right, so tag team. I could go with the really blasé route and say the Young Bucks, but I won't.
I'm just like, you don't know me. You don't know this.
That's pretty much what I was thinking, too. So for a tag team, I'm going to say War Machine.
Nice, dude. That would be amazing for them.
Because they already have the Wyatt family, but the Wyatt family are like these incomprehensible, scary, southern, horrifying monster guys. War Machine are just a couple of big, scary dudes that love hard metal.
Yeah. That would be great.
Pretty similar look, but completely different as far as gimmick goes.
Right.
And then female-wise, oh, man, I don't want to encroach on Lucha Underground's territory and say Melissa Anderson or anything like that. So, you know what? I'm going to keep it really simple, and I'm going to go with somebody that's already had a bit of a tryout in WWE, and I'm going to say Evie.
Nice. Look at you. Yeah, I like that answer. So
now you want to try and come up with two more male singles stars to match me, or?
Hell no, we're going to be here all night with the way how slow my brain works.
Yeah, we really should close this out. We're closing. Actually, we're over an hour now. So this was still a lot of fun, though. 2016 is going to be an amazing year for pro wrestling. I have a little bit of hope for WWE getting better. I know NXT is going to be great. Lucha Underground can't get here fast enough. New Japan started the year off on the right foot, as it always seems to do. And I can't wait to watch the PWG All-Star Weekend that we missed, that we haven't seen yet. There's just so much happening in 2016 already, and it's only January.
I know, dude. Insanity. With that said, guys, I'm not going to dawdle on this anymore. This has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
Well, we kind of did a little challenge for ourselves, so I want to hear what other people have to say. Who are the top 3 entities? I'm going to say entities because it could be males, females, tag teams, whatever. Entities that you want to see in NXT in 2016.
Yeah, get down below, guys. Start the conversation. Be sure to take that conversation over to Pletov. That is Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook. Now is the time to join, guys. It has been blowing up with these New Japan signings. Everybody is ranting and raving about it. Get in on the party. Make some friends. One of the best pro wrestling communities out there. But if you're just thinking to yourself, John, shut the hell up. Stop shilling to me this group. I just want a more quiet, intimate gathering. We have got you covered with the TWitWoW subreddit. There you can create threads directed towards Ashton, myself, or both of us about all things pro wrestling. And you can find all of our TWitWoW content there for even greater consumption. And guys, we will see you again. You know, we're going to be returning with our Raw reviews next Monday. That should be, well, interesting to say the least. We'll see how it goes. And until then, guys, tune in and peace out.